When you're building an app, your data is rarely just a bunch of separate lists, right? It's all connected. Users have posts, products have reviews, you get the idea. So today, we're going to dive deep and master Sequelize associations. This is the key to managing those data relationships and turning what could be really complex SQL into clean, elegant code. Okay, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the why we even need to connect data in the first place. Then we'll build our very first and most common connection, the one-to-many link. From there, we'll level up to the many-to-many relationship, and then, the big payoff, eager loading. Finally, we'll wrap it all up by looking at how you actually manage all this connected data in the real world. So let's frame the problem we're solving today. Your data has relationships baked right into it. A user has contacts, an album has songs, a blog post has comments. See, the real trick isn't just storing this data. It's being able to efficiently manage and query all those connections. So how do we do that without getting tangled up in a messy web of code? Well, on one hand, you could write raw SQL joins for every single thing you need. And yeah, it works, but let's be real, it gets messy and complicated fast. On the other hand, you have the elegant solution, Sequelize associations. This approach is declarative. You just tell Sequelize how your models are related once, and it handles all that gnarly SQL in the background for you. It is just so much cleaner, safer, and way easier to maintain. All right, let's kick off with section 1, why connect data. This is all about laying the groundwork. Think of associations as the way we teach our code to understand the same real-world relationships that we see in our database. So, what is a Sequelize association really? At its heart, it's just a way to define the relationship between your models. When you declare one, Sequelize does two crucial things. It sets up the foreign keys to keep your data consistent, and it unlocks a ton of powerful new ways to query that data. We're going to be focusing on the big three: has many, belongs to, and belongs to many. All right, let's get our hands dirty and build our very first connection with the one-to-many relationship. The easiest way to think about this is a simple address book. One single user can have many contacts. This is probably the most common relationship you'll ever set up. So before we do anything, our database schema probably looks something like this. We've got a user table, we've got a contact table. They both exist, sure, but they're totally isolated. They're like two ships in the night. There's absolutely no link, no way for the database to know which contact belongs to which user. They're just two separate lists. And now for the magic. To create that link, all we need are these two simple lines. User.hasManyContact tells Sequelize, hey, one user can have a bunch of contacts. Then, contact.belongs-to-user closes the loop. It says, and by the way, every single contact belongs to just one user. Now, this is super important. You always want to define both sides of the relationship like this. It gives Sequelize the full picture so it can work its magic. And boom, look what happens. After we run that code and sync our database, check out the contact table. Sequelize automatically adds a user ID column. That is the foreign key. That's the physical tether that links every single contact record back to a specific user. Just like that, our two lonely tables are now connected. Okay, we've got the one-to-many down. Now let's level up to something a little more complex, but you see it everywhere, the many-to-many relationship. Imagine you want to tag your contacts with things like friend or work. A single contact could have multiple tags, right? And a tag like work could be on multiple contacts. That's many-to-many. Now, you can't solve this with just one foreign key. So how do you do it? Well, you need a middleman. And that's exactly what a join table is. Sometimes people call it a junction table. Its only job is to sit in the middle and connect the other two. It's basically a simple table that just holds pairs of foreign keys, creating a bridge between the two. In Sequelize, we do this using belongs to many on both of our models. But the secret sauce here, the most important part, is that through option. This is the command that tells Sequelize, hey, I need you to create a brand new table for me called contact tags to manage this relationship. It's the instruction that builds our bridge. And this is one of my favorite parts. This is where using an ORM really shines. As soon as you define that relationship, Sequelize just gives you a whole suite of powerful new methods, totally free. You suddenly have add tag, get tags, remove tag. They just appear on your model instances. You don't have to write a single line of extra code. It's amazing. And here's what that join table looks like in action. You can see the contact tags table is super simple. It's just pairs of IDs. That first row It connects contact number 1 to tag number 1. But look at the second row. It connects that same contact, number 1, to a different tag, number 2. This simple little table is what makes the whole flexible many-to-many relationship possible. All right, we've done the hard work. We've carefully defined the relationships between our data models. Now it's time for the big payoff, eager loading. This is where we're going to see how to actually use those connections to write some incredibly powerful and official queries. So, this is the logical next question, isn't it? It's great that our database knows a user has many contacts and a contact has many tags, but how do we actually ask it to give us a user plus all their contacts and all the tags on those contacts all in one clean shot? The answer is one simple, powerful option: include. Just look how clean this is. We're telling it to find all users, but then we pass in this include option. Inside, we say to include the contact model. And then, nested right inside that, we say for each of those contacts, also include the tag model. This simple little object tells Sequelize to go build a complex SQL join behind the scenes and fetch everything in one single hyper-efficient trip to the database. And this is the beautiful result. That one query gives you back this perfectly structured, nested JSON object. You get the user, Alice. Inside her object is a contacts array. Inside that array, each contact has its own tags array. All the data you could possibly want, perfectly organized from one single command. That is the power of eager loading. Okay, let's bring all this theory back down to earth with a very practical real-world scenario. Just getting your data in and out of the database. You know, whether you're setting up a new server, making backups, or migrating data, you need a smart way to handle all these relationships. When you're importing data, order is absolutely everything. You have to respect the dependencies that your foreign keys create. You can't, for example, create a contact that belongs to a user if that user doesn't even exist yet. It's just common sense. So you always insert the parent records first, the users and tags. Then the child records, the contacts. And dead last, you insert the join table records that link everything together. Now, when you're getting data out, you've basically got two choices. On the left, a flat export. This just gives you a separate array for each table. This is fantastic for machines, for things like backups or migrations, because it makes it really easy to import everything in the correct order. On the right, you've got a nested export, kind of like what we saw from eager loading. This is much easier for a human to read and understand, but it can be a little trickier to import programmatically. So let's just boil it all down. Number 1, define your relationships. Use has many, belongs to, and belongs to many to teach your application how your data fits together. Number 2, query those connections. Use the include option for powerful and efficient eager loading. And finally, number 3, manage your data smartly. Always respect those dependencies when importing and exporting to keep everything intact. By mastering these concepts, you've really unlocked the ability to build much richer, more complex, and more powerful applications. You're not just managing simple lists of data anymore. You're orchestrating this whole interconnected web of information. So the only question left is, now that you can do this, what are you going to build?